Welcome to Damon Does the 6 questions, where the same 6 questions can tell a unique story. I am your host, Damon, father of 2, husband of 1, and leader of this here Demodcast. My next guest writes fiction, essays, and plays. This retired Navy veteran is also married to a patient woman who occasionally tells dirty jokes. From the urban sprawl of Portland, Oregon, make some noise for Andre Lewis Carter. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Thank you for taking time out to talk to a perfect stranger.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Where would you like to be found on the internet?
Okay, on the internet, I actually have a website. It's Andre Lewis Carter, and it's all one word, lowercase, at, AndreLewisCarter.com. Yeah. And actually, if you are interested in reading a novel, my debut novel, you can find that at Amazon or Barnes and Noble, etc. The title is Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea.
Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. How long did it take you to write that?
I started about 2016 and got the book contract in 2019, and because of the pandemic, it took a couple of years for them to get to it.
Oh, wow. Is this based off actual events and the fiction is around it, or is this all imagined whole cloth?
No, there are some real events. The climax takes place aboard the USS Kitty Hawk.
Mm-hmm.
This was in 1972. October 1972 was the only known documented race ride on board a U.S. Navy ship. So that's where the climax takes place.
Where did the idea for this come from?
The idea, I always start with the character in the situation. And this character was trying to escape, and he just happened to think he could escape into the Navy. So that's how he got in the Navy. And then the story takes you to how he got on board the USS Kitty Hawk along with the antagonist.
I have a question for you, Andre.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do it.
Question number 1. When did you know you wanted to be a writer?
I think I consciously knew about 2000, but I've been writing forever. I mean, my mom is to be believed. Back in the days when I was back when little boys, draw stick men and they're usually shooting at each other. She said I would just show her the picture. I'd be saying, hey, this guy name's Tom. He's the one in charge. That's his brother Robert, but he's a really terrible person. And so I would have a backstory for all these little stick men. Pretty much ever since I could actually put an idea together, I've been making up stories.
Did you ever try your hand at comic books or anything like that?
I did not, even though I was a comic book fan. I don't draw very well, so I haven't.
Question number 2. What do you wish you had known when you first started out?
That I needed to learn about marketing. Books, of course, are about the writing and the sharing, but if you actually want to share it, then you actually need to market it. I mean, the days of publishing houses doing tours and all that stuff, unless you're Colson Whitehead or Stephen King, that's not going to happen. they do some things for you, but getting the word out there is really up to the author. I kind of wish that I had actually studied that before I actually had something to sell.
When was the moment that light bulb hit?
When I actually got the book contract and I was talking to some writer friends who had been published, and it's like, who markets this thing? How does that happen? And I said, look, you do. I was like, oh, well, I guess I better figure out how to do that.
How do you feel about it now?
Still uncomfortable with it because you're basically, bragging about yourself, and when you're growing up, they say that's not that's not a good thing to do. But yeah, you just have to get over that hump. Yeah, talk about it and get on. Talk to people who are interested about it, but also get that word out there, like my website.
Question number 3. What's your go-to order at your favorite hometown restaurant?
That is a seared ahi salad, which I get at BJ's, which is a restaurant that's not far from me.
How did you discover this delicacy?
That was me going to the restaurant and checking out the menu. And one day it appeared and I had it. It was like been kind of addicted to it ever since.
Are you originally from Portland, or did you decide to come back there, or like and with your many travels? I'm assuming. I've just wondered how you chose that area.
Yeah, no, I'm not from Portland, although I did go to school. My wife and I went to school here. So it's kind of a return. I actually, when I retired from the Navy, I was living in San Diego and I was working there. And then I got a transfer because of the job. Yeah. And it turned out to be, the cost of living is so high in California. I mean, even though I love San Diego, but yeah, it's much more reasonable in Portland. So we're able to live a little better here.
Question number 4. What are you curious about?
Curious about a lot of things, but probably mostly people. And maybe that's because I write fiction, how people get themselves into the situations they get into, how they get themselves out. But yeah, I mean, even when I was working downtown and I'd ride the public transportation, you just I'd listen to conversations. And, yeah, so I mean that's how I get the voices of the characters. It's just a amalgamation of things that I've heard over the years, and of course, in the Navy, you meet so many characters. I mean, so yeah.
Do you like to people watch?
Yeah, I do. I mean, not so much during the pandemic, obviously, but yeah, yeah, yeah. I am a people watcher, and I actually like talking to folks as well.
Have you had a conversation with someone and then left that conversation with like a spark for a poem or an essay or some kind of writing? Has that ever happened?
Yeah, actually, that has happened back in the early days. Just you're pretty much looking for a spark,
Hmm.
and yeah, that did lead to some poems. I remember wrote a poem about these ladies I used to see at a bus stop every day in Houston. They were domestics, and that led to a poem. Just seeing them every day as I drove to work.
You can find inspiration anywhere as an artist.
Well, if you're looking, if you're paying attention, especially, I mean, and being a creative, I mean, you're gonna notice.
Question number 5. What should I ask you that I didn't know enough to ask?
If you knew more about the book, you might have asked me, "Hey, why did you set this in the early 1970s?" Because that's actually kind of historical fiction now. And the answer is, as I started writing a book in 2016, I noticed a lot of parallels between that time and the time I was writing the book. So we had an unpopular president in both times. Uh, the Black Power movement was going on, and Black Lives Matter the feminist movement was going on, the Me Too movement. So I just noticed a lot of parallels and yeah, so it was just, it's really kind of sad that we're still having so many of the same issues uh, today that we had in the 70s. There's been some periods where, they really thought that there had been progress, having a black president, that kind of thing. But then afterwards, we found that now things really haven't changed that much.
Question number 6. If you could create a new holiday, what would it commemorate?
Well, this is actually the 50th anniversary of the riot aboard USS Kitty Hawk. And I think that would be worth a holiday simply because that's something that needs to be remembered so it doesn't happen again. So all the circumstances that led up to that, we have the setting for it today.
How difficult was it to find the information on that time period and on things that went down, like in some of the things that you used in your fiction? How did you keep that historically accurate?
Just research. The Kitty Hawk's pretty easy. I mean, that's all over the internet. I mean, it's not pretty easy to research that. Some of the other things, I cover some of the history of racism in the military. Finding those documents was a little challenging, but I wrote probably half the book in the library. So it was just doing research, and then making it fit the story, the time period of the story.
Was there any history or trivia that you discovered but couldn't fit into the book?
That I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think most of what I cut out was just bad writing. you know, the story informed the research as much as the opposite. So no, I think everything I wanted to get in there is there, and I got just cut out the stuff that would have been nice, but it didn't serve the story.
What's the most interesting thing you learned during your research?
Segregation had actually been in the military, had actually been outlawed in the end of World War II by the president via executive order. And of course, it was left up to the commanding officers how far that went. And of course, most commanding officers did not take the letter of the law seriously. So it really wasn't until Kennedy and his executive order that it actually started being enforced in the Navy.
Can't believe we're done already. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah, this was fun.
Thank you for tuning in once again to Damon Does. And if you could take just a quick second to dip on into where you downloaded this podcast app, where you get that sweet, sweet podcast action, and make sure you leave 5 stars, leave a review so more people can join the conversation. So, until next time, see it, hear it, speak it, live.